She's worthless. I want her out of my life tonight. Ryan Caldwell's voice thundered through the Manhattan ballroom as he shoved his 8 months pregnant wife toward the exit. Emma stumbled. Her hand flew to her belly. 200 guests watched. Phones recorded. Nobody moved. Victoria Sterling stepped forward and slapped Emma across the face. "You heard him. Get out." The sound cracked through the silence. Emma's cheek burned red. Her twins kicked frantically inside her. Ryan's mother, Patricia, laughed from the front row. "Throw her bags on the lawn." Security guards grabbed Emma's arms and dragged her toward the door. What nobody knew was that Emma's mother had died 3 days ago and left her $10 billion. The woman they were destroying was about to become the richest person in that room. Dear viewers, thank you for being here. If you watch without subscribing, it's like standing in that crowd while Emma is erased. When you click that button, you stand with every woman who was mocked, abandoned, and still found a way to rise. Please subscribe and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. Now let me tell you how this story began. The phone rang while Emma Hartwell was folding baby clothes. She picked it up without checking the number. "Miss Hartwell, this is Dr. Patterson from Bridges Medical Center. I'm calling about your mother, Margaret Hartwell." Emma's hands stopped moving. "What about her?" "I'm so sorry. She passed away early this morning." The onesie slipped from Emma's fingers. "That's impossible. I talked to her last week. She said she was getting better." "She went peacefully in her sleep. We've been trying to reach you for 2 days." 2 days? Emma's voice cracked. "I never got any calls." "We left several messages. There are also attorneys trying to contact you about her estate. They said it's urgent." Estate. The word sounded wrong. Margaret Hartwell had lived in small rentals her whole life. She wore second-hand clothes and drove a 15-year-old car. What estate could she possibly have? "I'll come now," Emma said. "I need to see her." She hung up and pressed both hands against her swollen belly. The twins kicked hard, sensing her distress. 8 months pregnant and suddenly alone in a way she had never imagined. Her first instinct was to find Ryan. She walked to his home office and pushed open the door. He sat at his desk, phone pressed to his ear, fingers flying across his keyboard. "Ryan." He held up one finger without looking at her, the universal sign for wait. "Ryan, please. It's important." He sighed heavily. "Victoria, let me call you back." He set the phone down with obvious irritation. "What is it?" "My mom died." For 1 second something flickered across his face, then it disappeared. "When?" "This morning. The hospital just called. They said they've been trying to reach me for 2 days." Ryan nodded slowly. "That's rough. I'm sorry." "That's rough." Like she had told him about bad traffic. "I need to go to the hospital," Emma said. "To see her. To sign papers. They mentioned something about attorneys and an estate." "An estate?" Ryan's eyebrow lifted. "Your mom had an estate." "I don't know. That's what they said." He glanced back at his laptop. "Look, I have a lot going on. The quarter review is next week. Victoria needs these projections by tonight." "My mother just died, Ryan." "I know, and I'm sorry, but what do you want me to do about it?" His phone buzzed. He glanced at it. "That's Victoria again. I really need to take this." "Can't it wait 5 minutes?" "No. Emma, it can't." His voice hardened. "This is my career. This is our future. I can't drop everything because you're upset." "Upset my mother is dead. And standing here arguing about it won't bring her back." He picked up his phone. "Handle it. Make the arrangements. I'll help when I can." He turned back to his computer, already dismissing her. Emma stood in the doorway, 8 months pregnant with his children, fresh from learning her mother was gone, and watched her husband choose a phone call over her grief. She walked to the bedroom slowly, one hand against the wall for support. The twins shifted inside her, restless and unsettled. She sank onto the bed and let the tears come silent and hot. On the shelf across the room sat an old phone, dusty and forgotten. Her mother had given it to her 3 years ago. "Keep this charged," Margaret had said, "just in case. If there's ever something important about me that you need to know, they'll call this number." Emma had meant to keep it charged. Life got busy. The phone became a forgotten relic. She didn't know that phone held a voicemail that would change everything. She didn't know attorneys had been calling it for days with urgent news about an inheritance worth $10 billion. And she didn't know that the letter explaining everything had already been intercepted by someone who wanted her to stay in the dark. The funeral happened 3 days later. Gray sky, cold wind, a small gathering of people Emma barely recognized. Ryan stood at the edge of the cemetery, checking his phone every few minutes. "Who are you texting?" Emma asked. "Work stuff." "At my mother's funeral. The world doesn't stop because someone died, Emma." He didn't even look up. "Victoria needs an answer about the Henderson account." Emma stared at him. "Can you put the phone away? Just for an hour." Ryan's jaw tightened. "I'm here, aren't I? I took time off work to be here. What more do you want?" "I want you to be present. I want you to hold my hand. I want you to act like you care." "I do care, but I also have responsibilities. You don't understand the pressure I'm under." The pastor began speaking. Ryan's phone buzzed again. He stepped away to answer it. Emma stood alone at her mother's grave, listening to words about dust and ashes, while her husband laughed quietly into his phone, 20 feet away. After the service, an older woman approached Emma. Gray hair, sharp eyes, expensive coat. "You're Margaret's daughter." "Yes, I'm Emma." "I'm sorry for your loss. Your mother was a remarkable woman." Emma smiled weakly. "Thank you. Did you know her well?" "Better than most." The woman pressed a card into Emma's hand. "Call me when you're ready. There are things you need to know." Before Emma could ask what she meant, Ryan appeared at her elbow. "We need to go. I have the company event tonight." "Tonight, Ryan? We just buried my mother." "And life goes on. This event is important. Victoria specifically asked me to attend." "I can't go to a party tonight. I'm exhausted. I'm grieving." "It's not a party. It's networking. And you're coming." His grip tightened on her arm. "I need you there. It looks bad if I show up alone." Emma looked down at the card the woman had given her. No name, just a phone number and 2 words: foster trust. "Emma." Ryan's voice sharpened. "Are you listening to me?" She slipped the card into her pocket. "Fine. I'll go." "Good. And wear something nice. These are important people." He walked toward the car without waiting for her. Emma looked back at her mother's grave one last time. "I'm sorry, Mom," she whispered. "I don't know what's happening anymore." The company event was held at a restaurant in Midtown Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, waiters in black ties. The kind of place that made Emma feel like she was wearing a costume. Ryan walked ahead of her, scanning the crowd. His whole demeanor changed the moment they entered, shoulders, straightening smile, widening like an actor stepping onto a stage. "There she is," he murmured. Emma followed his gaze. Victoria Sterling stood near the bar, champagne glass in hand, surrounded by admirers. Tall, polished, the kind of beautiful that felt like a weapon. Ryan crossed the room toward her without looking back. "Ryan, wait." But he was already gone, swallowed by the crowd. Emma stood alone near the entrance, hand resting on her belly. People flowed around her like water around a stone. Nobody stopping. Nobody acknowledging her presence. A young woman with a headset approached. "Mrs. Caldwell." "Yes." "We're adjusting the seating for dinner. Would you mind waiting over here while we finalize arrangements?" "Waiting?" "I'm 8 months pregnant. I need to sit down." "It'll just be a moment." The moment stretched into 15 minutes, then 30. Emma watched other guests being escorted to tables while she remained standing against the wall. Through the crowd, she caught glimpses of Ryan sitting beside Victoria, their heads bent together in conversation, Victoria's hand on his arm, his laugh bright and eager, the laugh he used to save for her. Finally, another assistant appeared. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Caldwell. There was a confusion with the guest list. We don't have a seat for you at the main tables." Emma's face burned. "What do you mean you don't have a seat? We can set something up in the overflow area. It's quieter there, more comfortable for someone in your condition." "My condition?" The assistant's smile never wavered. "Please follow me." Emma was led to a small table behind a decorative screen hidden from the main dining room. From here, she could barely see the other guests, could barely hear the conversations and laughter. A waiter brought her cold food. She ate mechanically without tasting anything. Through a gap in the screen, she watched Victoria rise to make a toast. "To clarity," Victoria said, her voice carrying across the room. "To efficiency, and to the courage to let go of what no longer serves growth." Glasses clinked. Applause rippled through the crowd. Ryan clapped loudest of all. Victoria's eyes swept the room and found Emma's corner. For 1 second their gazes met. Victoria smiled. The smile said everything. "You don't belong here. You never did, and soon everyone will know it." Emma's hands trembled. She folded them over her belly and looked away. The event ended late. Emma waited by the car for nearly an hour, while Ryan lingered inside saying goodbye to people who mattered more than she did. When he finally emerged, his tie was loose, his cheeks flushed. "Good night," he said. Victoria was very impressed. "I sat behind a screen, Ryan. They hid me in a corner like I was an embarrassment." Huh. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic. I was literally hidden from view. I ate cold food alone while you sat with your boss and ignored me." Ryan unlocked the car. "I was networking. That's how careers advance. I can't babysit you every second." "Babysit me?" Emma's voice rose. "I'm your wife. I'm pregnant with your children. My mother just died today, and you made me come to a party where I was treated like garbage. Keep your voice down." "No, I want to know what's happening. I want to know why you've been acting like I don't exist for the past 6 months." Ryan spun around. His face was hard cold, like looking at a stranger. "You want to know what's happening, fine. I'll tell you what's happening." He stepped closer. "You're a liability, Emma. You've always been a liability. I married you because I thought you had potential, but you never grew. You never evolved. You're still the same small-town girl I met 5 years ago, and I've outgrown you." The words hit like physical blows. Emma stepped back, hand pressed against her belly. "Ryan, Victoria sees my potential. Victoria understands ambition. Victoria knows how to move in the world without dragging people down." His lip curled. "You don't even know how to dress for a simple dinner. I just buried my mother. And you've been milking it for sympathy ever since." He opened the car door. "Get in. I'm tired of this conversation." Emma stood frozen on the sidewalk. The twins kicked hard, 2 sharp jabs of protest. "I said get in." She got in. Because she didn't know what else to do. Because causing a scene would only make things worse. Because she had spent 4 years learning to swallow her pain rather than fight back. They drove home in silence. Ryan's phone buzzed constantly. He smiled at every message. When they got home, he went straight to his office and closed the door. Emma heard him talking, laughing, his voice warm and intimate in a way it never was with her anymore. She stood in the hallway, listening to her husband flirt with another woman through the wall, and felt something inside her begin to crack. But she didn't know the worst was still coming. 2 days later, everything changed. Emma was in the kitchen making tea when the doorbell rang. Ryan was at work. She wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door and found Victoria Sterling standing on her porch. "Hello, Emma." "Victoria." Emma's hand tightened on the doorframe. "What are you doing here?" "May I come in?" Victoria didn't wait for an answer. She stepped inside like she owned the place. Eyes scanning the living room with thinly veiled contempt. "We need to talk." "About what?" Victoria turned to face her. "About your future, or rather your lack of one." Behind Victoria, a car pulled into the driveway. Ryan's car. Emma's stomach dropped. "What is this?" The front door opened, and Ryan walked in, followed by his mother Patricia. Patricia's face was set in the cold, satisfied expression she always wore when she was about to deliver judgment. "Sit down, Emma," Ryan said. "I don't understand. What's happening?" "I said sit down." Emma lowered herself onto the couch, heart pounding. The twins shifted anxiously inside her. Ryan remained standing. Victoria moved to his side, her hand finding his arm with easy familiarity. Patricia settled into an armchair like a queen taking her throne. "We've discovered something disturbing," Victoria said. She pulled out a folder and dropped it on the coffee table. "Financial irregularities in your joint accounts." Emma looked at the folder. "What are you talking about?" "Money transfers, unauthorized withdrawals. Someone has been siphoning funds from Ryan's accounts." Victoria's voice was cold and precise. "The evidence points to you." "That's insane. I haven't touched those accounts." "The documents say otherwise." Ryan picked up the folder and threw it in Emma's direction. Papers scattered across the couch. "Look at them. Look at your name on those transfers." Emma picked up one of the papers with trembling hands. Her name was there. Her signature. Transfers she had never authorized to accounts she had never seen. "This isn't me," she said. "Someone faked this. I never made these transfers." "Of course you'd say that," Patricia cut in. "You've been taking advantage of my son since the day you married him. A small-town nobody trying to climb above her station." "That's not true." "Isn't it?" Patricia leaned forward. "You contributed nothing to this marriage. No money, no connections, no family worth mentioning. Just that pathetic mother of yours who lived in rental apartments until the day she died." "Don't talk about my mother. I'll talk about whoever I please." Patricia's eyes glittered with malice. "Ryan gave you everything. A home, a lifestyle, the privilege of carrying his children. And this is how you repay him, by stealing—" "I didn't steal anything." "Then explain the documents," Victoria said calmly. Emma looked at the papers again, trying to find something, anything that proved they were fake. Then she noticed it. A small detail most people would miss. The font spacing was wrong. The header alignment didn't match standard bank documents. These papers hadn't come from a bank at all. They came from Victoria's department. "These are fake," Emma said slowly. "You made these." Victoria's expression didn't change. "Excuse me?" "The formatting is wrong. I've seen Ryan's work documents. This template is from your company, not from our bank." For one fraction of a second, something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Then it was gone. "You're grasping at straws," Victoria said. "Desperate lies from a desperate woman." "She's always been unstable," Patricia added. "I warned Ryan about this from the beginning. Pregnancy makes women irrational. She probably doesn't even remember making the transfers." "I didn't make any transfers. Enough." Ryan's voice cut through the room. He moved closer to Emma, looming over her. "I trusted you. I built a life with you. And this is what you do." "Ryan, please listen to me. Someone is setting me up. Can't you see that all I see is a woman I don't recognize anymore?" His voice was thick with disgust. "A liability I should have cut loose years ago." Liability. That word again. "I'm your wife," Emma said, tears beginning to fall. "I'm carrying your children." "Are they even mine?" The question hit like a slap. Emma's breath caught. "How can you ask that? You've been sneaking around, hiding things, making secret calls." "What secret calls? I haven't." "Your mother's old phone." Ryan sneered. "You think I don't know about it? That piece of junk you keep on the shelf. Who have you been calling, Emma?" "No one. The phone doesn't even work." "Convenient excuse." "Ryan, please." Emma reached for his hand. "Please look at me. We've been together for 5 years. You know me. You know I would never—" He yanked his hand away. I don't know anything anymore, except that I want you out of my house. Out. You heard me. Pack your things and get out. I'm 8 months pregnant. I have nowhere to go. That's not my problem. Ryan turned to Victoria. Call the lawyers. I want divorce papers drawn up by tomorrow. Victoria pulled out her phone, already dialing. Patricia smiled. Finally. I always knew she wasn't good enough for you. Emma sat frozen on the couch, watching her life disintegrate around her. The papers scattered everywhere. Her husband standing beside another woman, her mother-in-law savoring her destruction. Ryan. She tried one more time. Please don't do this. He looked at her with cold, empty eyes. It's already done. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She lay in the guest room staring at the ceiling while Ryan talked and laughed with someone on the phone in the master bedroom. Victoria probably, planning their next move, celebrating their victory. Emma's hands moved to her belly. The twins were quiet now, as if they sensed the danger and were trying to hide. I'll protect you, she whispered. I don't know how yet, but I will. She thought about the card the woman at the funeral had given her. Foster trust. She hadn't called the number yet, hadn't had the courage. Maybe it was time. She reached for her mother's old phone on the nightstand. Her fingers trembled as she plugged it into the charger. The screen remained dark for a long moment, then slowly flickered to life. One voicemail notification appeared. Emma's heart pounded as she pressed play. Miss Hartwell. This is Jonathan Pierce from the law firm representing the estate of Margaret Hartwell. We've been trying to reach you for several days now. A sealed notification letter was sent to your home address and signed for, but we haven't received any response. It's extremely important that you contact us as soon as possible regarding your status as beneficiary. The inheritance in question is significant, and there are time-sensitive matters that require your immediate attention. Please call us back at your earliest convenience. Beneficiary. Inheritance. Significant. Emma played the message again. And again. Her mother had left her something. Something important enough that lawyers were urgently trying to reach her. Something significant. But the letter had been signed for, and she never received it. Someone in this house had taken it. Emma looked toward the master bedroom where Ryan was still talking on the phone. Her blood ran cold. Had he found the letter? Had he hidden it from her? She needed to search his office. She needed to find out what was in that letter. But first, she needed to survive long enough to do it. Emma eased herself out of bed and crept to the window. Outside in the darkness, a black sedan sat parked across the street. She had noticed it before over the past few days. The same car. The same spot. Someone was watching the house. The thought should have frightened her. Instead, it gave her strange comfort. Maybe she wasn't as alone as she thought. The next morning, Ryan was already dressed when Emma came downstairs. He stood by the door with his briefcase, checking his watch. There's a company event tonight, he said without looking at her. A celebration. You're coming. After everything you said yesterday, you want me to come to a party. It's not optional. He finally met her eyes, cold, calculating. There are things that need to be settled, publicly. Something in his tone made her stomach clench. What things? You'll see. He opened the door. Be ready by 6. He left without another word. Emma stood in the empty foyer, her mind racing. A public event. Things that needed to be settled. He was planning something. Something worse than what had already happened. She thought about running, about packing a bag and disappearing before he could do whatever he was planning. But she was 8 months pregnant with twins. She had no money, no family left, nowhere to go. And there was still the matter of the inheritance. The letter that had disappeared. The truth that someone was trying to hide from her. She needed to know what her mother had left her. She needed to find that letter. Emma went to Ryan's office. The door was locked. She tried every key she could find. None of them worked. Finally, she remembered the spare key Ryan kept hidden in a book on the living room shelf. She found it tucked inside a copy of The Art of the Deal and used it to unlock the office door. The room was immaculate. Ryan was obsessive about organization. Everything had its place. Emma searched the desk first. Bills, work documents, nothing unusual. Then she tried the filing cabinet. More work papers, tax returns, insurance documents. She was about to give up when she noticed a stack of magazines on a side table. Something about the stack looked wrong. Too neat, too deliberately placed. She moved the magazines aside and found an envelope underneath. Her name was written on the front. Emma Hartwell. The envelope had been opened. The seal was broken. Inside was nothing. Someone had taken the contents. Emma's hands began to shake. Her mother had left her something important enough to send through lawyers. Ryan or someone in this house had intercepted it, opened it, and removed whatever was inside. What were they hiding from her? A noise from the front of the house made her freeze. The front door opening. Footsteps in the foyer. Emma quickly replaced the magazines and slipped out of the office, closing the door quietly behind her. She made it to the kitchen just as Victoria Sterling walked into the house. "Emma," Victoria's smile was razor-sharp. "I hope you don't mind. Ryan gave me a key." "A key? To Emma's house? What do you want?" "Just picking up a few things for tonight's event." Victoria moved through the house with proprietary confidence, opening drawers, checking cabinets. "You should start getting ready. It's going to be a memorable evening." "What's happening tonight?" Victoria paused, looking at Emma with something that might have been pity or contempt. It was hard to tell the difference with her. "You really don't know, do you?" Victoria shook her head slowly. "Poor thing, still thinking this is a marriage that can be saved." "What are you talking about?" "Ryan's made his choice. He made it months ago, actually. Tonight is just the formal announcement." Victoria picked up a decorative vase and examined it. "I'm redecorating soon. This style is so outdated. You can't just... I can do whatever I want." Victoria set the vase down and turned to face Emma fully. "You never understood that, did you? Power isn't about who's right. It's about who controls the narrative. And honey, you lost control of the narrative the moment you walked into Ryan's life with nothing to offer but a pretty face and a desperate need to be loved." Emma felt sick. "Ryan loved me once." "Ryan loved the idea of you. The small-town girl who made him feel like a hero. But heroes get bored, Emma. They need bigger challenges, more worthy partners." Victoria smoothed her perfectly styled hair. "People like you, you're stepping stones. Useful for a while, then discarded. And people like you," Victoria's smile widened. "People like me build empires." She walked toward the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. "Wear something nice tonight. There will be cameras." Then she was gone. Emma sank into a chair, her whole body trembling. The twins kicked frantically, responding to her distress. Cameras, an announcement, a celebration. Ryan wasn't just leaving her. He was planning to humiliate her publicly. She thought about not going, about locking herself in the bedroom and refusing to participate in whatever spectacle they had planned. But that empty envelope haunted her. Her mother had left her something worth hiding. Something worth destroying. If she didn't show up tonight, she might never find out what it was. Emma went upstairs and began to get ready. She chose a simple blue dress, one her mother had bought her 2 years ago. She put on the only pair of comfortable shoes that still fit her swollen feet. She looked at herself in the mirror. Pregnant. Exhausted. Alone. But not broken. Not yet. Whatever happened tonight, she would face it standing up. The venue was a mansion in the Hamptons. Emma recognized it from magazine covers she had seen while waiting in checkout lines. The kind of place where people with more money than conscience gathered to celebrate themselves. Ryan drove in silence. He hadn't spoken a word to her since they left the house. Victoria was already there when they arrived. She stood at the entrance like she owned the place, greeting guests with practiced warmth. "Ryan," she kissed his cheek, "you look wonderful." "So do you." He took her hand and squeezed it, right in front of Emma. Victoria's eyes slid to Emma. "So glad you could make it. Please go inside. Find a seat. Where should I sit? Someone will show you. No one showed her. Emma wandered through the crowded rooms, invisible among the beautiful people, until a harried assistant directed her to a small table near the back. Hidden, out of sight, exactly where they wanted her. The evening proceeded like a fever dream. Speeches about success and vision, toasts to the future, laughter that seemed to mock her with every note. Emma watched Ryan move through the crowd like a man transformed, confident, charming, attentive to every person who might advance his career. He never once looked in her direction. As the night wore on, the guests began migrating toward a main stage area. Someone was going to make an announcement. Emma felt dread pooling in her stomach. Ryan took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he said, his voice amplified across the room. "This is a celebration of new beginnings, of having the courage to pursue what we really want." Emma's hands gripped the edge of her table. "Some of you know that I've been going through some personal changes lately. Changes that weren't easy but were necessary." Victoria stood at the edge of the stage, watching with a small, satisfied smile. "I'm here tonight to announce that I'm filing for divorce." Ryan's voice carried clearly to every corner of the room. "Effective immediately. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, is a liability. To my career, to my future, to everything I'm trying to build." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose into the air. Recording. Emma couldn't move, couldn't breathe. "I want to thank Victoria Sterling for helping me see what was possible, for believing in me when others couldn't, for showing me what a real partnership looks like." He reached out his hand. Victoria took it, stepping onto the stage beside him. "The future is bright," Ryan said, "and I'm excited to face it with the right person by my side." Applause erupted, scattered at first, then growing as people decided which side they wanted to be on. Emma sat alone at her hidden table, watching her husband embrace another woman in front of 200 witnesses. This wasn't a divorce announcement, it was an execution. Someone had planned this. The seating that kept her out of sight, the announcement that painted her as the villain, the cameras that would spread this story before she could tell her own version. They had stolen her voice before she even knew she needed to use it. Emma rose from her chair. Her legs felt like water, but she forced herself to move. She walked toward the stage, pushing through the crowd. People stepped aside, staring at her swollen belly, whispering to each other. "Ryan." Her voice came out steady, stronger than she felt. He turned, irritation flashing across his face. "Emma, don't make a scene. You just announced our divorce in front of hundreds of people. You called me a liability. And I'm the one making a scene." Victoria stepped forward. "Someone call security." "Don't bother." Emma met Victoria's eyes. "I'm leaving. But first I want everyone here to understand something." The room went quiet. Phones kept recording. "I loved my husband," Emma said clearly. "I was faithful to him. I supported him through every failure, every disappointment, every moment when he didn't believe in himself. I'm 8 months pregnant with his children, and this is how he repays that loyalty." "She's lying," Victoria said quickly. "She's been stealing from him. We have proof." "Fake proof. Documents created on your company's computers. I saw the formatting." Emma looked around the room. "My mother just died, 3 days ago. I buried her this morning, and these people couldn't wait 1 week to destroy my life." Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some sympathetic, some skeptical. "Security!" Victoria snapped. "Now!" 2 men in suits moved toward Emma. She didn't resist as they took her arms. "One more thing," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. "My mother left me something, a letter. These people intercepted it and hid it from me. Whatever was in that letter, they're terrified of it." She looked directly at Victoria. "What are you hiding?" Victoria's face remained composed, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear. The security guards began walking Emma toward the door. "This isn't over," Emma called back. Whatever you stole from me, I will find it, and when I do, everyone will know what you really are." The doors closed behind her. Outside, the night air was cold and sharp. Emma stood on the mansion steps alone, cast out with nothing but the clothes on her back and the babies in her belly. A car pulled up. Black sedan. The same one she had seen parked outside her house. The window rolled down. A man's face appeared. Asian features. Calm eyes. Late 30s. "Miss Hartwell. My name is Marcus Chen. I worked for your mother." Emma stared at him. "What? Please get in. There are things you need to know. Things about your mother. About your inheritance. About what those people have been hiding from you." Emma looked back at the mansion. Through the windows, she could see the party continuing without her. Ryan and Victoria celebrating their victory. She turned back to Marcus. "Tell me everything." She got in the car. As they drove away from the mansion, Marcus handed her a folder. "Your mother spent 30 years building something extraordinary," he said. "An investment structure that controls trillions of dollars. Her personal estate, which she protected and kept separate, is worth $10 billion. She left all of it to you." Emma's hands shook as she opened the folder. Inside were documents covered in legal language, numbers so large they didn't seem real. $10 billion? Yes, but there's more. Marcus glanced at her. "The woman who burned your letter, Victoria Sterling, she's not just your husband's mistress. She's been investigating your mother's holdings for months, trying to find a way to access them." "Why?" "Because the Foster Global Trust controls more capital than most countries. Whoever controls the air controls access to that capital." Marcus's expression darkened. "They weren't just trying to take your husband from you, Miss Hartwell. They were trying to take everything." Emma stared at the documents in her hands, the numbers, the legal structures, the vast web of wealth her mother had built in secret. "My mother," she whispered. "Why didn't she tell me?" "She wanted you to live without the burden of expectation. She wanted you to be loved for who you are, not what you have." Marcus pulled the car onto the highway. "She also knew there were people who would try to use you. That's why she hired me, to watch over you, to intervene if necessary." "Where are we going?" "To meet the attorneys handling your mother's estate. They have the original documents, the real letter, not the one Victoria destroyed. They have everything you need to take back what's yours." Emma looked out the window at the passing lights. Behind her, her old life lay in ruins. Her husband had betrayed her. Her home was gone. Her name had been dragged through the mud in front of hundreds of witnesses. But ahead of her, something else waited. A truth her mother had protected. A fortune that belonged to her. And the power to make everyone who had wronged her face the consequences of their choices. She placed her hands on her belly. The twins kicked softly as if encouraging her. "Okay," she said quietly. "Tell me everything. And then we're going to make them pay." The black sedan pulled away from the mansion as Emma clutched the folder Marcus had given her. Her hands trembled so badly she could barely hold the papers. $10 billion, she whispered. "That's not possible. My mother lived in a rental apartment. She drove a 15-year-old car." Marcus kept his eyes on the road. "Your mother was the most careful person I ever met. She spent 30 years building an empire, and 30 years hiding it from everyone, including you. Why would she hide something like this from her own daughter? Because she wanted you to be loved for who you are, not hunted for what you have." Marcus glanced at her. She watched what money did to people. She watched families destroy each other over inheritances. She wanted you to grow up knowing your own worth before you knew your net worth. Emma stared at the documents. Legal language swam before her eyes. Trust structures, holding companies, investment vehicles with names she didn't recognize. "The Foster Global Trust," she read aloud. "What is this? Your mother's life work. It controls investment capital for pension funds, sovereign wealth accounts, major institutions around the world. The money flowing through those structures is measured in trillions. Trillions. Your mother didn't own that money. She managed it, directed it. But her personal estate, the part she built and protected separately, that's worth 10 billion. And every cent of it belongs to you. Emma's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen. Ryan's name. "Don't answer it," Marcus said. "I wasn't going to." The phone kept buzzing. Then it stopped. Then it started again. "He's panicking," Marcus said. "Good. He just humiliated me in front of 200 people. Why would he be panicking?" "Because someone at that party recognized your mother's name. Word travels fast in those circles. By now, Ryan knows he made a very expensive mistake." Emma's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text. "Ryan, we need to talk. Come home. This is all a misunderstanding." She stared at the message. 12 hours ago, he had called her worthless. He had let Victoria slap her across the face. He had ordered security to drag her out of the building. Now he wanted to talk about a misunderstanding. Another text appeared. "Ryan, I know about the inheritance. We can work this out. You need me, Emma. You don't know how to handle this kind of money." Emma's jaw tightened. He knows. Of course he knows. Victoria probably figured it out weeks ago. That's why they've been trying so hard to get rid of you before the will was processed. They wanted me gone before I found out. Exactly. A divorced wife with no knowledge of her inheritance is much easier to manipulate than a married wife who knows what she's entitled to. Emma looked out the window at the passing lights. Everything she thought she knew about her life was a lie. Her husband had never loved her. Her mother had hidden an entire world from her. And the people she trusted most had been plotting her destruction. "Where are we going?" she asked. "To meet Jonathan Pierce. He's the lead attorney handling your mother's estate. He has the original documents, the ones Victoria burned. He has everything you need to understand what you've inherited and how to protect it." "And then what?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Then you decide what kind of person you want to be. A victim who lets them win. Or something else entirely." The law office was in a building Emma had walked past 100 times without ever noticing. No flashy signs. No obvious displays of wealth. Just a plain brass plaque beside a heavy wooden door. Inside, a woman in her 60s sat behind a reception desk. She looked up when Emma entered and her face softened with recognition. "Miss Hartwell, we've been waiting for you." She stood and extended her hand. "I'm Dorothy. I worked with your mother for 22 years. I'm so sorry for your loss." Emma shook her hand, feeling like she was moving through a dream. "Thank you. Mr. Pierce is ready for you. This way, please." Dorothy led them down a quiet hallway to a corner office. Inside, a man in his 50s sat behind a desk covered with neat stacks of documents. He had gray hair, sharp eyes, and the calm demeanor of someone who had seen every kind of human drama money could create. He stood when Emma entered. "Miss Hartwell, I'm Jonathan Pierce. Please sit down." Emma lowered herself into a chair, grateful to be off her feet. The twins had been kicking constantly since she got in the car. Jonathan studied her face. "You look like her, you know, your mother. Same eyes, same way of holding yourself when you're trying to stay strong." Emma's throat tightened. "I didn't know her at all, did I?" "You knew the parts she wanted you to know, the parts that mattered most to her." Jonathan opened a folder on his desk. "Your mother loved you more than anything in this world, Miss Hartwell. Everything she built for you. And everything she hid to protect you. Protect me from what? From people like the ones you married into." Jonathan's voice hardened slightly. "Your mother had concerns about Ryan Caldwell from the beginning. She hired Marcus to investigate him before your wedding." Emma looked at Marcus, who nodded. "She found out about Victoria Sterling's interest in him 2 years ago," Marcus said. "She knew they were having an affair. She knew they were planning something." 2 years. Emma's voice cracked. "She knew for 2 years, and she didn't tell me." "She tried," Jonathan said gently. "She left you messages. She sent you letters. She asked you to call her about something important." Emma remembered. Her mother's voicemails that she had been too busy to return. The letters she had glanced at and set aside, meaning to read later. The invitations to lunch that she had declined because Ryan said her mother was too demanding. Ryan had been isolating her, and she had let him. "I was so stupid," Emma whispered. "You were trusting. There's a difference." Jonathan pushed a document across the desk. "This is your mother's will, the original. I'm going to read you the relevant portions, and then we're going to discuss your options." He put on reading glasses and began. "I, Margaret Ann Hartwell, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. I leave my entire personal estate valued at approximately $10 billion to my daughter Emma Grace Hartwell. This includes all real property investment accounts, business holdings, and beneficial interests in the Foster Global Trust." Jonathan paused. "There's more. Your mother included specific instructions about what should happen if anyone attempted to interfere with your inheritance." "What kind of instructions?" "She anticipated exactly what happened. Someone intercepting the notification letter. Someone trying to keep you in the dark. Someone trying to manipulate you into giving up your rights." Jonathan looked at her over his glasses. "Your mother was not a naive woman, Miss Hartwell. She knew how the world worked. She planned accordingly." He continued reading. "If any party attempts to intercept, destroy, or otherwise interfere with communications regarding this estate, I authorize my executors to pursue all available legal remedies, including but not limited to criminal prosecution for mail fraud, civil litigation for tortious interference, and complete exclusion of any such party from any benefit they might otherwise claim through association with my heir." Emma's breath caught. She knew this might happen. She prepared for every possibility, including the possibility that you might be pregnant when she died, and therefore more vulnerable. Jonathan set down the will. "Your mother arranged for emergency protections to be put in place the moment we confirmed interference with the estate notification." "What kind of protections?" "Financial safeguards, legal representation, personal security." Jonathan nodded toward Marcus. "Marcus has been watching over you for months. There are others you haven't seen." Emma looked at Marcus. "How long have you been following me?" "Since you announced your pregnancy. Your mother wanted to make sure you and the babies were safe no matter what happened." She knew she was dying. She knew it was possible. She had been sick for longer than she let you know. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I should have been there. I should have visited more. I should have answered her calls." "You can't change the past," Jonathan said firmly. "But you can change what happens next, and right now, you have some decisions to make." He pulled out another folder. "Victoria Sterling intercepted a letter addressed to you. She signed for it fraudulently and destroyed it. We have security footage of her entering your home with a key, taking the letter, and burning it in your fireplace." "How do you have security footage from inside my house?" "Your mother had cameras installed when you moved in. Hidden ones. She told Ryan she was paying for a security system as a wedding gift. He never asked questions about how it worked." Emma thought about all the private moments in that house. All the times she had cried alone. All the times Ryan had dismissed her, or ignored her, or treated her like she didn't matter. Her mother had seen everything. "The footage shows Victoria burning the letter," Jonathan continued. "It also shows her going through Ryan's office, accessing his computer, and removing documents. She's been monitoring your family's finances for months. She was planning this. She and Ryan both. We have email evidence of their coordination, messages discussing how to make you look unstable, how to frame you for financial fraud, how to time the public humiliation to maximize damage to your reputation." Emma's hands curled into fists. They planned everything, down to the last detail. The fake audit documents accusing you of stealing, the witnesses at the party, the security guards who dragged you out. All of it was choreographed. "Why, if they knew about the inheritance, why not just stay married to me and take the money that way?" "Because your mother's trust has protections against exactly that scenario. If you die while married, your spouse receives nothing. If you divorce, your spouse receives nothing. If you're declared mentally incompetent, your spouse receives nothing." The only way to access the foster money is to be you or to control you completely. Control me. That was the plan. Destroy your reputation, make you dependent on Ryan, convince you that you need him to manage your affairs, then slowly take over your finances while you're too broken to fight back. Emma felt sick. And the pregnancy? Jonathan's expression darkened. They discussed options for that as well. None of them were good. Marcus spoke up. We have messages between Victoria and Ryan about convincing you to give up custody, about making you look like an unfit mother, about using the babies as leverage. Emma's hand flew to her belly. The twins kicked hard as if they could hear the threat. They want my children. They want everything. Your money, your children, your complete destruction. Jonathan leaned forward. But here's what they don't know. They don't know we have the footage. They don't know we have the emails. They don't know your mother spent years preparing for exactly this moment. What do we do? First, we establish your legal protections. Restraining orders, asset freezes, emergency custody arrangements. We make sure Ryan cannot touch you, your money, or your babies. And then we wait for the right moment. There's a will reading scheduled for next week. All interested parties are required to attend. Ryan thinks it's a formality. He thinks he's going to waltz in claim confusion about the divorce and position himself as your grieving, supportive husband. He thinks I'll take him back. He thinks you're desperate enough to try. He's been texting you all night, hasn't he? Emma looked at her phone. 23 messages from Ryan now, each one more pleading than the last. Ryan. Emma, please. I love you. I made a mistake. Ryan. Victoria manipulated me. I see that now. Ryan. Think about the babies. They need their father. Ryan. I'll do anything. Just come home. He's performing, Marcus said. He knows someone might be reading these messages later. He's creating a paper trail that makes him look like the victim. What should I tell him? Jonathan smiled. Nothing. Let him sweat. Let him wonder. Let him spend the next week trying to figure out what you know and what you're planning. And at the will reading, he's going to learn exactly what happens to people who try to steal from Margaret Hartwell's daughter. Emma looked at the documents spread across Jonathan's desk. The will, the trust papers, the evidence of betrayal. 3 days ago, she had been a pregnant woman mourning her mother trapped in a marriage to a man who despised her. Now she was the heir to $10 billion armed with evidence that could destroy everyone who had hurt her. Her mother had given her more than money. She had given her power. The question was how to use it. There's something else, Jonathan said. Something you need to see before you make any decisions. He opened a drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. Emma's name was written on the front in handwriting she recognized immediately. Her mother's handwriting. She wrote this 6 months ago, Jonathan said. She asked me to give it to you after everything else was explained. She wanted you to understand the situation before you read her personal words. Emma's hands shook as she took the envelope. Did you read it? No. It's sealed. Whatever she wrote, it was meant only for you. Emma ran her fingers over the envelope. Her mother had touched this paper. Her mother had chosen these words. Her mother had been thinking about her, preparing for her, protecting her until the very end. She wasn't ready to open it. Not yet. Not while she was still processing everything else. I'll read it later, she said quietly. When I'm alone. Jonathan nodded. Take your time. You have a lot to absorb. Marcus stood. We should get you somewhere safe for the night. Somewhere Ryan can't find you. Where? Your mother kept an apartment in the city. She used it when she needed to work late or attend meetings. It's fully furnished, fully stocked, and completely off Ryan's radar. She had an apartment I didn't know about. She had a lot of things you didn't know about. You're going to spend the next few weeks discovering just how much your mother prepared for this moment. Emma stood slowly, her body aching from exhaustion and stress. The twins pressed against her ribs, making it hard to breathe. One more thing, Jonathan said. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing emergency motions with the family court, protective orders, asset freezes, preliminary custody arrangements. By the time Ryan wakes up, he's going to find himself locked out of every account he shares with you. He'll be furious. Good. Angry people make mistakes, and Ryan Caldwell has already made enough mistakes to bury him. The apartment was on the 32nd floor of a building in Tribeca. Modern, quiet, completely anonymous. Emma walked through the rooms, slowly touching surfaces her mother had touched, sitting in chairs her mother had sat in. There were photos on the walls. Emma as a baby. Emma at her high school graduation. Emma on her wedding day, smiling at the camera while Ryan stood beside her looking at his phone. Her mother had been there, watching, worrying, waiting. Emma found the bedroom and lowered herself onto the bed. Her body screamed for rest, but her mind wouldn't stop racing. She picked up the sealed envelope and stared at it for a long time. Then she opened it. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and the vultures have started circling. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from all of them. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth while I was alive. I hope someday you'll understand why I made the choices I made. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Every decision I made for the past 30 years was about keeping you safe and giving you a future. I knew you would marry someone who didn't deserve you. I knew you would trust people who would betray you. I knew this because I was young once too, and I made the same mistakes. But I also knew you would survive. You have my stubbornness and your father's kindness. You have strength you don't even know about yet. And now you have the resources to build whatever life you choose. Don't let them win, Emma. Don't let the Ryans and Victorias of this world convince you that you're less than what you are. You are my daughter. You are Margaret Hartwell's daughter. And Margaret Hartwell never lost a fight she cared about winning. I love you. I always have. I always will. Take care of those babies. Tell them about me sometimes. Mom. Emma read the letter 3 times. Then she pressed it against her chest and cried until she had no tears left. Her mother had known. She had seen Ryan for what he was. She had watched Emma make mistake after mistake. And instead of interfering, instead of demanding that Emma listen, she had simply prepared. She had built walls around her daughter that no one could breach. She had gathered evidence that no one could dismiss. She had arranged for protectors and lawyers and resources that would activate the moment Emma needed them. Margaret Hartwell had spent 30 years building an empire, and she had spent the last 2 years building a fortress around her daughter. Emma wiped her eyes and looked at her phone. 37 messages from Ryan now. She deleted all of them without reading. Then she opened a new message to Victoria Sterling's number. She typed 4 words and hit send. See you next week. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Victoria calling. Emma declined the call. Another buzz. A text from Victoria. Victoria. What does that mean? Emma smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Victoria. Emma. Answer me. What do you know? Victoria. Whatever lies they've told you, I can explain. Victoria. This isn't what you think. Ryan and I were trying to help you. Emma turned off her phone and set it on the nightstand. Let them panic. Let them wonder. Let them spend the next week trying to figure out how much evidence existed and who had seen it. The will reading was in 7 days. By the time it was over, Ryan Caldwell and Victoria Sterling were going to learn exactly what happened when you tried to destroy a woman who had nothing left to lose. Emma placed her hands on her belly. The twins had finally settled their movements, soft and rhythmic. Your grandmother was a warrior, she whispered. And your mother is about to become one too. 7 days until the will reading. Emma woke in her mother's apartment with dried tears on her face and her mother's letter still clutched against her chest. The twins kicked hard, demanding attention, demanding food, demanding that she get up and keep fighting. She forced herself out of bed and found Marcus already waiting in the living room. You look terrible, he said. Thank you for that. Coffee's on the counter, decaf, and Jonathan called. The emergency motions were filed an hour ago. By noon, Ryan won't be able to access a single shared account. Emma poured herself coffee and sat down carefully. How long before he finds out? His bank will notify him when he tries to use his card. So probably around lunchtime when he goes to buy himself something expensive to feel better about his life. He's going to lose his mind. That's the idea. Emma's phone buzzed. She had turned it back on that morning, and the messages had been pouring in ever since. 42 from Ryan. 17 from Victoria. 3 from Patricia. She opened Patricia's messages first. Patricia. Emma, we need to talk. Ryan told me what happened. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Patricia. I know I haven't always been warm to you, but we're family. Family works things out. Patricia. Please call me. I'm worried about you and the babies. Emma showed the messages to Marcus. She's worried about me now. She's worried about the money. She always has been. Marcus pulled out his tablet. Speaking of which, there's something you should see. He handed her the device. On the screen was a series of emails between Patricia and Victoria dated from 6 months ago. Victoria. The mother is sick. Terminal. We need to move faster. Patricia. How much is the estate worth? Victoria still investigating. But the name Foster keeps appearing in unusual places. This could be bigger than we thought. Patricia. Ryan needs to get her pregnant. A baby ties her down, makes her dependent. Victoria. Already handled. I switched her birth control 3 months ago. Emma's blood ran cold. She what? Victoria had access to your medicine cabinet. She replaced your pills with placebos. Marcus's voice was flat. The pregnancy wasn't an accident, Emma. It was part of their plan. Emma's hands flew to her belly. Her twins. Her precious babies. They had been conceived not from love, not from choice, but from manipulation. They planned everything, she whispered. From the beginning. Ryan married you because Victoria identified your mother as a potential target. Patricia pushed the relationship forward. Victoria managed the timeline. Your entire marriage was a long-term extraction strategy. Emma felt like she might vomit. Ryan never loved me. Ryan doesn't love anyone except himself. Victoria understands that. She uses it. Emma stared at the emails on the screen. The clinical language, the cold calculations, the complete absence of any acknowledgement that she was a human being with feelings and rights. Show me everything, she said. Every email, every message, every piece of evidence you have. Are you sure some of it is difficult to read? I need to know what I'm fighting. All of it. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but first you need to eat something. Your mother would kill me if I let you starve yourself. 6 days until the will reading. Emma spent the day reading through evidence files while Jonathan's team prepared legal documents. The more she read, the angrier she became. There were emails discussing how to isolate her from her mother. Messages about monitoring her phone calls. Plans to convince her that Margaret was mentally declining and couldn't be trusted. Ryan. She keeps trying to visit her mother. It's getting harder to stop her. Victoria. Tell her you're planning a surprise trip. Keep her distracted. Ryan. She's not stupid. She's starting to ask questions. Victoria. Then make her feel guilty for asking. Tell her she's being paranoid. Tell her she's hurting your feelings by not trusting you. Emma remembered those conversations. Ryan's wounded expression when she mentioned visiting her mother. His accusations that she didn't trust him. His subtle suggestions that her mother was becoming a burden. She had believed him. She had doubted her own instincts. She had let him separate her from the one person who was trying to protect her. I let him do this to me, she said to Marcus. I let him isolate me. He's a professional manipulator. He's been doing this his whole life. That doesn't make me feel better. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to help you understand that you're not weak. You were targeted by people who practice deception the way athletes practice their sport. Emma's phone buzzed again. Ryan. Ryan. The bank froze our accounts. Emma, this is insane. We need to talk. You're making a huge mistake. She typed back without thinking. I'm not making any mistakes. You made them all. His response came immediately. Ryan, whatever they've told you is lies. Victoria is the one who betrayed us. I just found out she's been playing both of us. Come home and I'll explain everything. Emma showed the message to Marcus. He's blaming Victoria now. Of course he is. When the ship sinks, rats turn on each other. Another message from Ryan. Ryan, I have proof. Emails showing Victoria planned everything. She manipulated me too. We're both victims here. Emma laughed bitterly. He's actually trying to play the victim. Let him. Every lie he tells now is another rope around his neck. 5 days until the will reading. Jonathan called with an update. Victoria's lawyers reached out this morning. They want to negotiate. Emma gripped the phone tighter. Negotiate what? They're claiming Victoria had no knowledge that the letter contained estate information. They say she opened it by accident and destroyed it because she thought it was junk mail. That's ridiculous. Of course it is. The security footage shows her reading the letter carefully before burning it. But they're testing the waters, seeing if you're willing to settle quietly. What did you tell them? I told them to prepare for court. Emma felt a surge of satisfaction. Good. There's more. Ryan's lawyers filed a motion this morning challenging the asset freeze. They're claiming you abandoned the marital home and therefore forfeited your right to joint property. I was dragged out by security guards. We have footage of that too. The motion will be dismissed, but it shows you how they're going to fight. They're going to lie, deflect, and attack from every angle. Let them. I have the truth. Truth matters. But preparation matters more. I need you to come to the office this afternoon. We're going to rehearse your testimony for the will reading. Testimony? I thought it was just a reading. It's more than that. When there's evidence of interference with an estate, the court allows affected parties to present their accounts. You're going to tell your story, Emma, and you're going to tell it in front of Ryan, Victoria, and everyone else who tried to destroy you. Emma's stomach tightened. They'll all be there. They have to be. As potentially interested parties and subjects of the interference investigation, their attendance is mandatory. If they don't show up, the court can issue warrants. The thought of facing them made Emma's heart race, but underneath the fear was something else. Anticipation. I'll be there, she said. 4 days until the will reading. Emma arrived at Jonathan's office to find Rachel Morrison waiting for her. Rachel was a family law specialist Jonathan had brought in to handle the divorce and custody aspects of the case. How are you feeling? Rachel asked. Terrified, furious, exhausted. Good. Those are appropriate emotions for your situation. Rachel opened a folder. We need to discuss custody arrangements. Ryan has already filed for joint custody of the twins. Emma's jaw dropped. He called them a liability. He had me dragged out of a party while I was 8 months pregnant, and now he wants custody. He wants leverage. If he can threaten to take the babies, he thinks you'll negotiate on the financial settlement. He's never going to touch my children. That's the right attitude. And fortunately, we have extensive evidence of his unfitness as a parent. The footage of the party alone is damaging. But combined with the emails about manipulating your pregnancy and the plans to remove the children from your care, his custody petition doesn't stand a chance. What about Victoria? Is she part of this? Rachel's expression hardened. Victoria filed paperwork yesterday, identifying herself as Ryan's domestic partner. She's claiming she should have standing in any custody discussions because she intends to help raise the children. Emma felt rage surge through her. She slapped me. She helped plan my destruction, and she thinks she's going to raise my babies. She's not going to get anywhere near them. I promise you that. Rachel leaned forward. But I need you to understand something, Emma. These people are going to fight dirty. They're going to say horrible things about you. They're going to twist every fact and manufacture evidence and do everything they can to make you look unstable. I know. Do you? Because when you're sitting in that courtroom 8 months pregnant, watching your husband hold hands with another woman and lie about you to a judge, it's going to feel very different than it feels right now. Emma met her eyes. I've already been humiliated in front of 200 people. I've been slapped. I've been called worthless. I've been dragged out of my own life. There's nothing they can do to me that's worse than what they've already done. Rachel studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Good. That's exactly the strength you're going to need. 3 days until the will reading. Marcus arrived at the apartment with news. Victoria is panicking. She tried to leave the country last night. Emma looked up from the documents she'd been studying. What happened? Airport security stopped her. Jonathan had already flagged her passport. She's considered a flight risk pending the estate investigation. She tried to run. Wouldn't you? She knows what's coming. The fraud charges alone could put her in prison for 10 years. Add the mail tampering, the conspiracy to defraud, and the assault charges from the party, and she's looking at decades. What about Ryan? Ryan's still playing the victim. He gave an interview to a Society columnist this morning. Claimed you've been manipulating him for years. Said your mother was mentally ill and you've inherited her instability. Emma's hands clenched. He's attacking my mother now. He's attacking everyone except himself. But here's the interesting part. His company announced this morning that he's been placed on administrative leave pending an internal investigation. They're firing him. They're distancing themselves. His public humiliation of a pregnant woman went viral. The company's getting pressure from investors and board members. Nobody wants to be associated with him. Emma thought about Ryan's obsession with his career, his constant references to Victoria's approval, his desperate need to climb the corporate ladder. He's losing everything, she said. Everything except his arrogance. That seems to be intact. 2 days until the will reading. Patricia Caldwell showed up at Jonathan's office demanding to see Emma. Tell her I'm not here, Emma said when Dorothy announced the visitor. She says she won't leave until she speaks with you. Jonathan looked at Emma. It's your choice. But it might be valuable to hear what she has to say. Sometimes people reveal things when they're desperate. Emma hesitated, then nodded. Send her in. But stay close. Patricia entered the office like she owned it, her designer coat buttoned tight, her face set in an expression of maternal concern that Emma had never seen before. Emma, darling, thank God you're all right. Don't call me darling. We're not friends. Patricia's mask slipped for just a second, revealing the cold calculation underneath. Then it was back smooth and practiced. I understand you're upset. You have every right to be. Ryan behaved terribly. Victoria manipulated him. But you have to understand he's not himself. He's been under so much pressure. Pressure to steal my inheritance. Patricia's smile flickered. I don't know what you're talking about. Jonathan slid a printed email across the desk. This is a message you sent to Victoria Sterling 6 months ago. You suggested getting Emma pregnant to make her more dependent. Would you like to explain that? Patricia's face went pale. That's taken out of context. There's no context that makes this acceptable. Jonathan's voice was ice. You conspired with your son and his mistress to trap Emma in a controlled pregnancy. You helped plan the isolation of a vulnerable woman from her dying mother. You participated in the scheme to steal her inheritance. I didn't know about any inheritance. These emails suggest otherwise. Jonathan pulled out another document. This one is from you to Ryan 3 weeks ago. You wrote, and I quote, "The mother's estate could be substantial. We need Emma neutralized before the will is processed." Would you like to explain what neutralized means, Mrs. Caldwell? Patricia's composure crumbled. Her hands began to shake. Her carefully applied makeup suddenly looked garish against her pale skin. I was trying to protect my son, she whispered. Your son is a grown man who made his own choices, and now he's going to face the consequences, as are you. Patricia's eyes found Emma's, and for the first time, Emma saw fear there. Real fear. The fear of a woman who had spent her whole life manipulating others and suddenly found herself without power. Emma, please. I know I haven't been kind to you, but I'm Ryan's mother. I'm your children's grandmother. We're family. Emma stood slowly, her belly heavy, her heart heavier. You were never my family. You treated me like dirt from the day we met. You undermined my confidence, criticized my choices, and made me feel like I would never be good enough. Emma's voice shook, but not from weakness, from rage. And now I find out you helped steal my mother from me. You helped take the last months I could have had with her. You helped plan the destruction of my entire life. I didn't mean, get out. Emma, get out of this office before I have security remove you. And when you leave, think about this. My mother left me $10 billion. I can afford the best lawyers in the country. I can afford to fight you and your son and Victoria for the rest of your lives. And I will. I will make sure you never know a moment's peace. Patricia's face crumpled. She looked at Jonathan, at Marcus, at Emma's pregnant belly. Then she turned and fled her heels, clicking frantically on the marble floor. When the door closed, Emma's legs gave out. She sank back into her chair, breathing hard. That was impressive, Marcus said quietly. I meant every word. I know you did. That's what made it impressive. One day until the will reading, Emma couldn't sleep. She paced the apartment, her mother's letter in her hand, reading and rereading the words until she knew them by heart. Don't let them win, Emma. Don't let the Ryans and Victorias of this world convince you that you're less than what you are. Tomorrow, she would face them all. Ryan with his lies, Victoria with her calculated cruelty, Patricia with her desperate manipulations. The lawyers and witnesses and court officials who would watch as her most painful moments were discussed publicly. Her phone buzzed. One final message from Ryan. Ryan, Emma. I'm begging you. Don't do this. Don't destroy everything we built together. I made mistakes, but I love you. I've always loved you. Give me one more chance. Emma read the message 3 times. A year ago, those words might have worked. She had wanted so desperately to believe he loved her. She had made excuse after excuse for his behavior, convinced herself that the good times outweighed the bad. But that was before she knew the truth. Before she understood that every sweet moment had been calculated. Every kind word had been strategic. Every gesture of affection had been designed to keep her compliant and blind. She typed her response carefully. See you tomorrow, Ryan. I hope you're ready. Then she turned off her phone and went to bed. The morning of the will reading arrived cold and gray. Emma dressed carefully in a black dress her mother had given her 2 Christmases ago. She applied minimal makeup because she knew she would probably cry at some point and didn't want to look like a mess. Marcus picked her up at 7. The hearing was scheduled for 9. How are you feeling? He asked in the car. Like I'm about to go to war. You are, but you're not alone. Your mother made sure of that. They arrived at the courthouse to find news cameras already gathering outside. Someone had leaked information about the case. The story of the secret billionaire, the cheating husband, and the stolen inheritance had captured public attention. Jonathan met them at a side entrance. We go in through the back. No press until this is over. Emma followed him through a maze of corridors until they reached the courtroom. It was smaller than she expected, wood-paneled formal. A long table sat at the front with chairs arranged on both sides, and there already seated were Ryan, Victoria, and Patricia. Ryan looked haggard, like he hadn't slept in days. Victoria's perfect composure had cracked her makeup slightly uneven, her posture rigid with tension. Patricia sat with her hands folded, her face carefully blank. They all looked up when Emma entered. For a moment, nobody spoke. The air crackled with tension. Then Ryan stood. Emma. Sit down, Mr. Caldwell. The judge had entered the room, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. This proceeding is now in session. We're here to read the last will and testament of Margaret Ann Hartwell and to address allegations of interference with the estate notification process. She settled into her chair and looked around the room. Before we begin, I want to make something clear. This is a court of law, not a stage for personal drama. Any outbursts will result in removal. Any false statements will result in perjury charges. Is that understood? Murmurs of agreement from both sides. The judge nodded. Good. Mr. Pierce, you may begin. Jonathan opened his folder and began to speak. And Emma Hartwell's moment of reckoning finally arrived. Jonathan's voice filled the courtroom with calm authority. Your Honor, we are here today to execute the last will and testament of Margaret Ann Hartwell, who passed away 12 days ago. However, before the will can be properly administered, this court must address serious allegations of criminal interference with the estate notification process. Ryan shifted in his seat. Victoria's lawyer whispered something in her ear. Patricia stared straight ahead, her face frozen. Margaret Hartwell was not an ordinary woman, Jonathan continued. She spent 30 years building one of the most sophisticated private investment structures in American history. The Foster Global Trust, which she founded and managed, controls capital flows measured in trillions of dollars. Her personal estate, carefully separated and protected, is valued at approximately $10 billion. A murmur rippled through the room. Even the judge's eyebrows rose slightly. $10 billion, Jonathan repeated. And every cent of it was left to one person, her daughter Emma Grace Hartwell. Emma felt Ryan's eyes on her. She didn't look at him. 3 days after Mrs. Hartwell's death, a notification letter was sent by courier to Emma Hartwell's marital residence. This letter explained the inheritance and provided instructions for claiming it. The letter was signed for and received. Jonathan paused. But Emma Hartwell never saw that letter, because someone else intercepted it. He pressed a button on his laptop. A screen lowered from the ceiling and security footage began to play. The video showed the front door of Emma's house, a courier approaching, the door opening, and Victoria Sterling, wearing casual clothes as if she belonged there, signing for the envelope and taking it inside. This footage was recorded by a hidden security system installed by Margaret Hartwell herself, Jonathan said. She had concerns about her daughter's safety and took precautions accordingly. Victoria's face had gone white. Her lawyer was scribbling furiously on a notepad. The footage continued. Victoria moving through the house. Victoria sitting in the living room, opening the envelope, reading the contents. Victoria's face changing as she understood what she was holding. Then, Victoria walking to the fireplace, striking a match, feeding the letter into the flames. Victoria Sterling destroyed legal estate correspondence addressed to another person, Jonathan said. This constitutes mail fraud, a federal offense. It also constitutes tortious interference with an inheritance which carries significant civil penalties. Objection, Victoria's lawyer said, standing quickly. My client had no knowledge that the envelope contained estate documents. She believed it was junk mail. Then why did she read it so carefully before burning it? Jonathan asked. Why did she sit with it for 17 minutes before destroying it? Why did she immediately call Ryan Caldwell afterward? He pressed another button. Audio began to play. Victoria's voice recorded from Ryan's phone. Ryan, we have a problem. Her mother left her everything. $10 billion. We need to move faster. Ryan's voice panicked. What do? We stick to the plan, the public humiliation, the divorce. We need her broken before she finds out. What if she already knows? She doesn't. I destroyed the letter. She has no idea what's coming. The recording ended. The courtroom was silent. Emma watched Ryan's face drain of color, watched Victoria's composure finally completely shatter, watched Patricia grip the edge of the table like she was trying to hold on to a sinking ship. Your Honor, Jonathan said quietly, the evidence speaks for itself. The judge looked at Victoria. Miss Sterling, do you have anything to say? Victoria's lawyer stood again. Your Honor, we request a recess to confer with our client. Denied. This hearing will proceed. The judge's voice was sharp. Miss Sterling, you may address the court if you wish. Victoria stood slowly. Her hands were trembling. For a moment, she looked almost human, almost vulnerable. Then her mask slipped back into place. Your Honor, I made a mistake. I panicked. I saw the amount of money involved, and I acted without thinking. Her voice cracked, perfectly calibrated for sympathy. Ryan and I had been struggling in our relationship. Emma was pregnant with his children. I was afraid of losing him. I did something terrible, and I take full responsibility. Emma's stomach turned. Even now, Victoria was performing. Even now, she was trying to manipulate her way out. But I never meant to hurt anyone, Victoria continued. I never meant to deprive Emma of her inheritance. I was going to tell her. I just needed time to figure out how. You were going to tell her. Jonathan's voice cut through the room. Is that why you helped Ryan plan her public humiliation? Is that why you coordinated the fake financial documents accusing her of theft? Is that why you slapped her across the face at a party while she was 8 months pregnant? Victoria's mask cracked again. That's not, I didn't. We have emails, Miss Sterling, hundreds of them, dating back 18 months. You didn't panic after finding the letter. You had been planning this since before Margaret Hartwell was even diagnosed with her illness. Jonathan pulled up another email on the screen. Victoria to Ryan. The mother is the key. She has money hidden somewhere. I can feel it. We need to get closer to Emma. Make her trust you completely. Ryan to Victoria. She already trusts me. She thinks I love her. Victoria to Ryan. Good. Keep it that way. When the mother dies, we'll be positioned perfectly. Emma's hands curled into fists. 18 months. They had been plotting against her for 18 months. Before her pregnancy, before the parties, before the humiliation, her entire marriage had been a lie from the very beginning. Your Honor, Jonathan said, I move to enter these communications into evidence as proof of premeditated fraud and conspiracy. So moved. The judge's face was grim. Miss Sterling, Mr. Caldwell, you should both be aware that these proceedings are being recorded and may be used in subsequent criminal trials. Ryan finally spoke. Your Honor, I had nothing to do with this. Victoria manipulated me. She told me Emma was stealing from our accounts. She showed me fake evidence. I believed her because I trusted her. You trusted your mistress over your pregnant wife. The judge's voice dripped with contempt. I made a mistake. I know that now, but I'm a victim here too. Emma couldn't stay silent anymore. You called me worthless. She said, her voice steady, despite the rage burning in her chest. You had me dragged out of a party by security guards. You let Victoria slap me while I was 8 months pregnant with your children. And now you want to call yourself a victim. Emma, please. You knew exactly what you were doing. You knew about the inheritance. You knew about the plan. You participated in every step of it. Emma stood, her belly heavy, her heart heavier. I have the emails, Ryan. I have the recordings. I have everything. Those recordings were obtained illegally. They were obtained by my mother, who installed a security system in my own home to protect me from exactly this kind of predator. Emma's voice rose. She knew what you were from the beginning. She tried to warn me. And I didn't listen, because I believed you loved me. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. I gave you everything. I supported your career. I made myself smaller so your ego could feel bigger. I carried your children, and this is how you repay me, by stealing from me, by humiliating me, by trying to take my inheritance and my babies. Ryan's face contorted. Your mother was crazy. She spied on us. She manipulated everything. This whole situation is her fault. Don't you dare talk about my mother. Emma's voice dropped to something cold and dangerous. My mother was worth 1,000 of you. She built an empire while you were chasing promotions and sleeping with your boss. She protected me while you were plotting my destruction. She loved me while you were pretending. The judge held up a hand. Mrs. Hartwell, please sit down. Mr. Caldwell, one more outburst, and I'll have you removed. Emma lowered herself back into her chair, breathing hard. The twins kicked frantically inside her. Jonathan stepped forward again. Your Honor, there's more evidence to present. But first, I'd like to call a witness, Mrs. Patricia Caldwell. Patricia's head snapped up. What? You were subpoenaed as part of this proceeding, Mrs. Caldwell. You're required to testify under oath. Patricia looked at Ryan, then at Victoria, then at her lawyer. Her lawyer shrugged helplessly. Mrs. Caldwell, the judge said, please take the witness stand. Patricia walked to the front of the room, like a woman walking to her execution. She sat down heavily, her face pale and pinched. Jonathan approached her slowly. Mrs. Caldwell, how long have you known Victoria Sterling? I don't see what that has to do with... Answer the question, please. Patricia's jaw tightened. About 3 years. And did you know that Victoria was having an affair with your son while he was married to Emma? I knew they were close. Close. Jonathan pulled up another email. This is a message you sent to Victoria 2 years ago. You wrote, and I quote, Ryan needs a woman who can advance his career. Emma is holding him back. We need to find a way to remove her from the picture. Would you like to explain what you meant by remove her from the picture? Patricia's mouth opened and closed. No words came out. Mrs. Caldwell, I just meant divorce. I thought they should divorce. Then why didn't you say divorce? Why did you say remove her from the picture? It was just an expression. An expression? Jonathan nodded slowly. Let me show you another expression you used. He pulled up a different email. Patricia to Victoria. The pregnancy complicates things. We need to act before the babies are born. Once she's a mother, it's harder to make her disappear. Make her disappear, Jonathan repeated. What does that mean, Mrs. Caldwell? Patricia's composure finally broke. I didn't mean it was just we were frustrated. You were planning to destroy a pregnant woman's life. You were plotting with your son's mistress to steal her inheritance. You were discussing how to remove her from the picture before her babies were born. Jonathan's voice hardened. Those aren't expressions, Mrs. Caldwell. Those are confessions. Patricia burst into tears. I was just trying to help my son. You don't understand the pressure he was under. Victoria promised that everything would work out. She said we would all benefit. Benefit from what? From stealing $10 billion. I didn't know about the money. Not at first. Victoria said Emma's mother had some investments. She didn't say it was billions. When did you find out? Patricia hesitated. A few months ago. Victoria said the mother was dying, and the estate would be significant. She said we needed to move faster. And what did you do with that information? I told Ryan to keep Emma close, to make sure she didn't find out about any of it. You told your son to deceive his pregnant wife about her own inheritance. I told him to be careful. That's all. That's all. Jonathan turned to the judge. Your Honor, I think we've heard enough from this witness. The judge nodded grimly. Mrs. Caldwell, you may step down, but don't leave the courthouse. You may be facing charges of your own. Patricia stumbled back to her seat, sobbing quietly. Ryan didn't even look at her. Jonathan turned back to the judge. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to read the relevant portions of Margaret Hartwell's last will and testament. He opened a leather folder and began to read. I, Margaret Ann Hartwell, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. I leave my entire personal estate valued at approximately $10 billion to my daughter Emma Grace Hartwell, to be administered according to the terms of the Foster Global Trust. Jonathan paused. Additionally, I make the following provisions. If any party attempts to interfere with intercept, destroy, or otherwise obstruct communications regarding this estate, they shall be permanently excluded from any benefit they might otherwise claim through association with my heir. Furthermore, my executors are authorized to pursue all available legal remedies against such parties, including, but not limited to, criminal prosecution and civil litigation. He looked up at Victoria and Ryan. Margaret Hartwell anticipated exactly what happened. She knew there were people who would try to take advantage of her daughter. She prepared accordingly. The judge leaned forward. Mr. Pierce, what remedies are you seeking? Your Honor, We are seeking full execution of the will as written. We are also seeking criminal referrals for mail fraud conspiracy to commit fraud and tortious interference with an inheritance. Additionally, we are seeking an emergency protective order preventing Ryan Caldwell, Victoria Sterling, and Patricia Caldwell from having any contact with Emma Hartwell or her children. What about the divorce proceedings? Mrs. Hartwell has filed for divorce citing fraud, adultery, and domestic abuse. Given the evidence presented today, we request an expedited hearing and a complete separation of assets. And custody of the children. Jonathan glanced at Emma. She nodded. Mrs. Hartwell is seeking sole custody of her twins. Given Mr. Caldwell's documented participation in a conspiracy against their mother, his fitness as a parent is severely compromised. Ryan jumped to his feet. You can't take my children from me. Sit down, Mr. Caldwell. The judge's voice was like a whip crack. They're my children. I have rights. You have the right to remain silent, which I strongly suggest you exercise. The judge fixed him with a cold stare. Based on what I've heard today, your rights regarding those children are going to be severely limited. Sit down and let the attorneys handle this, or I will have you removed. Ryan sat, his face twisted with rage. Victoria remained silent, staring at the table in front of her. The fight seemed to have gone out of her completely. Patricia continued to cry softly, ignored by everyone. The judge looked at Emma. Mrs. Hartwell, is there anything you'd like to say before I make my preliminary rulings? Emma stood slowly. Her back ached, her feet were swollen, her heart was broken in ways she hadn't even begun to process. But her voice was steady. Your Honor, a month ago I was a pregnant woman who believed she had a happy marriage. I believed my husband loved me. I believed my mother was a simple woman who lived a simple life. I believed the world was basically fair and good. She paused. I was wrong about everything. My husband was stealing from me. My mother was protecting me with resources I never knew existed. And the world is full of people who will smile at you while planning your destruction. Her eyes moved to Ryan. He looked away. I don't want revenge. I don't want to destroy anyone. I just want what my mother worked her whole life to give me. I want safety for my children. I want justice for the wrongs that were done to me. And I want to move forward with my life without being afraid of the people who tried to take everything from me. She placed her hand on her belly. My mother left me more than money. She left me strength I didn't know I had. She left me protections I didn't know I needed. And she left me a letter that said, "Don't let them win." Emma looked at the judge. I'm not going to let them win. The judge was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. This court will take a brief recess before issuing preliminary rulings. All parties will remain in the building. She stood. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. As the judge left, Emma felt a contraction ripple through her abdomen. She gripped the table edge, breathing hard. Marcus was at her side instantly. Emma, I'm fine. It's just stress. Are you sure? You look pale. Another contraction hit, harder this time. Emma, Rachel's voice was urgent. How far apart are those contractions? I don't know. A few minutes, maybe? We need to get you to a hospital. I can't leave. The ruling can wait. Your babies can't. Emma looked toward the door where Ryan and Victoria were being escorted out by their lawyers. Ryan's eyes met hers. For 1 second, something flickered there. Concern, maybe, or calculation. Then another contraction hit and Emma doubled over. Call an ambulance, Marcus shouted. Now! The last thing Emma saw before the pain overwhelmed her was Jonathan's face, calm and focused. Go, he said. I'll handle everything here. You go have your babies. Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Not from pain, from something else entirely. She was about to become a mother. And no matter what happened in that courtroom, no matter what rulings were issued or charges were filed, nothing would ever be more important than that. Marcus helped her toward the door as the contractions came faster and stronger. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Take care of those babies. Tell them about me sometimes. I will, Mom, Emma whispered. I promise. The ambulance screamed through Manhattan traffic, while Emma gripped Marcus's hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers. The contractions were coming faster now, waves of pain that left her gasping. "You're doing great," Marcus said. "Just breathe." "I can't breathe. It hurts too much." "The hospital is 5 minutes away. Just hold on." Emma's phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. Then it buzzed again, and again. Marcus pulled it out and looked at the screen. "It's Jonathan. He says the judge issued her preliminary ruling." "What did she say?" "Full execution of the will. Criminal referrals for Victoria and Ryan. Emergency protective orders granted." Marcus smiled. "You won, Emma." Another contraction hit, and Emma screamed. She didn't feel like she had won anything. She felt like she was being torn apart. "The babies are coming too fast," the paramedic said. "We might not make it to the hospital." "What do you mean we might not make it?" "I mean you might deliver in this ambulance." Emma looked at Marcus with wild eyes. "I can't have my babies in an ambulance." "You can have your babies anywhere you need to. Your mother would be proud of you." Tears streamed down Emma's face. "I want my mom. I want her here." "She is here. She's been with you this whole time." The ambulance lurched to a stop. Doors flew open. Hands reached for Emma, lifting her onto a gurney, rushing her through automatic doors, into a chaos of white coats and shouting voices. 8 months pregnant twins contractions, 2 minutes apart," someone called out. "Get her to delivery now." Emma lost track of time. There was pain and pressure and voices telling her to push. There was Marcus somewhere in the background on the phone with Jonathan updating him on the situation. There was a moment when everything went quiet and still, and Emma thought she might be dying. Then a cry, thin and high and beautiful. "It's a girl," someone said. Emma sobbed. "Is she okay?" "She's perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, very strong lungs." More pain, more pushing, more voices urging her on. Then another cry, different pitch, same beauty. "And a boy. Congratulations, Mrs. Hartwell. You have twins." They placed the babies on Emma's chest, warm and squirming, and impossibly small. She looked down at their faces and felt something crack open inside her. Not pain this time, something else. Something bigger than anything she had ever experienced. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi, my babies. I'm your mom." The girl opened her eyes. Dark like Emma's. Dark like Margaret's. "You look like your grandmother," Emma said through her tears. "You look just like her." A nurse appeared at her side. "Do you have names picked out?" Emma hadn't thought about names. She had been too busy surviving to think about the future. But now, looking at her daughter's face, she knew. "Margaret," she said. "Her name is Margaret Grace." "And the boy?" Emma looked at her son. He was already asleep, his tiny fist curled against his cheek. "James," she said. "After my grandfather. James Michael." The nurse wrote the names down. "Beautiful choices. Your family would be proud." Emma held her babies closer. Her family. Her tiny, precious family. No one would ever take them from her, no matter what. 3 hours later, Emma was settled in a private room when Jonathan arrived. He looked exhausted but triumphant. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck, but also like I could conquer the world." Emma gestured toward the bassinets where Margaret and James were sleeping. "Meet your newest clients." Jonathan smiled and leaned over to look at the babies. "They're beautiful. Your mother would have loved them." "I know." Emma's voice caught. "I wish she could have met them." She did in a way. She spent the last 2 years of her life making sure they would be safe and provided for. Everything she did was for you and for them. Jonathan sat down in the chair beside Emma's bed. "I have updates from the court if you're ready to hear them." "Tell me everything." "The judge issued her full ruling an hour ago. The will is being executed as written. You are the sole beneficiary of Margaret Hartwell's estate, valued at $10 billion. All assets are being transferred to your control immediately. Emma nodded slowly. The numbers still didn't feel real. Victoria Sterling has been arrested on charges of mail fraud conspiracy to commit fraud and tortious interference with an inheritance. She's being held without bail pending trial. Good. Ryan Caldwell has been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and domestic abuse. His bail was set at $5 million, which he cannot pay because all of your joint assets have been frozen. So he's in jail. For now. His mother tried to post bail for him, but her assets are also frozen, pending investigation into her role in the conspiracy. Emma felt a strange emptiness where rage should have been. What about the custody ruling? The judge granted you sole custody of both children. Ryan's parental rights are suspended pending the outcome of his criminal trial. He cannot contact you or the babies without court supervision. And the divorce? Expedited. Given the circumstances, the judge waived the usual waiting period. You'll be officially divorced within 30 days. Emma looked at her sleeping babies. So it's over. The legal battles are just beginning. There will be trials for Victoria and Ryan, civil suits, appeals. This is going to take years to fully resolve. Jonathan paused. But the worst is over. You're safe. Your children are safe. Your inheritance is secure. Margaret's plan worked. Emma closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, she felt something like peace. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Don't thank me. Thank your mother. She's the one who made all of this possible. 2 days later, Emma was preparing to leave the hospital when an unexpected visitor arrived. A woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes. The same woman who had approached her at Margaret's funeral. Mrs. Hartwell, I'm glad I caught you before you left. Emma recognized her immediately. You gave me a card at my mother's funeral. Foster Trust. My name is Eleanor Chen. I was your mother's closest friend and business partner for 30 years. Marcus's mother? Eleanor smiled. Yes, Marcus has been watching over you on my behalf as much as Margaret's. I wanted to meet you properly before you begin your new life. Emma looked at this woman who had known her mother better than she had. Why didn't she tell me about any of this about you? About the trust, about the money? Eleanor sat down slowly. Your mother believed that money was a test. She watched it destroy people she cared about. Families torn apart by inheritance battles. Children who grew up entitled and empty. Marriages ruined by greed. Like mine. Yes, like yours. Eleanor's voice softened. She wanted you to grow up knowing your own worth. She wanted you to be loved for who you are, not what you have. She made the choice to keep you in the dark because she believed it would protect you. It didn't protect me. I married a man who only wanted my money. True, but you also discovered his true nature before you were trapped forever. And you found strength you didn't know you had. Eleanor leaned forward. Your mother wasn't perfect, Emma. She made choices that you might disagree with. But everything she did out of love. Emma wiped her eyes. I know. I read her letter. Then you know what she wanted for you. A life of your own choosing. Freedom to use your resources however you see fit. And the wisdom to recognize the difference between people who love you and people who want something from you. How do I tell the difference I couldn't tell with Ryan? You learn. You make mistakes. You pay attention to how people treat you when they think no one is watching. Eleanor smiled. And you surround yourself with people who have proven their loyalty. Like Jonathan, like Marcus, like me. Emma looked at this woman her mother had trusted completely. Will you help me? I don't know anything about running a $10 billion trust. That's why I'm here. Your mother asked me to guide you, to teach you everything she knew, to make sure you're ready to take her place when the time comes. Take her place. The Foster Global Trust doesn't just hold your inheritance, Emma. It influences markets, shapes economies, affects millions of lives around the world. Eleanor's eyes were steady. Your mother wasn't just wealthy. She was powerful, and now that power belongs to you. Emma looked at her sleeping babies. I don't want power. I just want to raise my children in peace. You can have both. But first, you need to learn how to protect what's yours. Because there will always be people like Victoria and Ryan waiting to take advantage of any weakness. Emma thought about everything she had been through. The humiliation, the betrayal, the pain, and the strength she had discovered in herself when she had no other choice. Okay, she said. Teach me. 1 month later, Emma stood in the lobby of Foster Global Trust headquarters for the first time. She wore a black dress, simple and elegant, her mother's pearls around her neck, her babies in a double stroller pushed by a nurse she had hired on Eleanor's recommendation. People stopped to stare as she walked past. Word had spread quickly through financial circles. The mysterious heir to Margaret Hartwell's empire had finally emerged. Eleanor met her at the elevator. Are you ready? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. They rode up to the executive floor in silence. When the doors opened, a row of people waited to greet her. Board members, executives, lawyers, the people who had spent decades working alongside her mother. One by one they introduced themselves, shook her hand, expressed condolences for her loss and congratulations on her inheritance. Emma smiled and nodded and tried to remember names. It was overwhelming. All of it was overwhelming. Then Eleanor led her to a corner office. Large windows. A desk covered with photos and papers. Her mother's desk. This is yours now, Eleanor said. When you're ready. Emma walked slowly around the room. She touched the surface of the desk, looked at the photos. Her mother at various ages, various events. A life Emma had never known about. And there, in a frame on the corner of the desk, a picture of Emma herself. Graduation day, beaming at the camera while her mother stood beside her, pride shining in her eyes. Emma picked up the frame and held it close. I miss you, Mom, she whispered. I wish you could see me now. 3 months later, Ryan Caldwell's trial began. Emma attended every day, sitting in the front row, her babies with their nurse in a private room nearby. Ryan looked different now, thinner, older. The arrogance had been beaten out of him by 3 months in jail, unable to make bail. His lawyer tried everything, claimed Victoria had manipulated him, claimed Emma had been mentally unstable, claimed the evidence had been obtained illegally. None of it worked. When the verdict came down, Emma was sitting directly across from Ryan, guilty on all counts. Ryan's face crumpled. He looked at Emma for the first time since the trial began. Emma, he said, his voice breaking. Please, I'm sorry. I loved you. I really did. Emma stood slowly. She walked toward him until they were only a few feet apart. No, you didn't, she said quietly. You loved what you thought I could give you. There's a difference. I can change. I can be better. Please, just give me another chance. You had your chance. You had 4 years of chances, and you chose to throw them all away for money you were never going to get. Ryan's lawyer tried to pull him back. Mr. Caldwell, please. Emma, please, Ryan begged. Think about the children. They need their father. Emma's expression hardened. My children need protection from people like you. They need to grow up knowing their worth isn't measured in dollars. They need to learn that loyalty means something. She leaned closer. They don't need a father who would sell them for the right price. She turned and walked away. Ryan screamed her name. Guards restrained him. Chaos erupted in the courtroom. Emma didn't look back. Victoria's trial came next. She tried to plea bargain, offering testimony against Ryan in exchange for a reduced sentence. The prosecutors weren't interested. They had enough evidence without her help. Victoria was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, mail fraud, conspiracy, assault. A long list of charges that added up to a very long time behind bars. On the day of sentencing, Emma received a letter. No return address. Plain envelope. She opened it carefully. Emma. You think you've won. You think you're safe now. But money doesn't protect you from everything. There are always people watching, waiting, planning, Enjoy your victory while it lasts. Emma showed the letter to Marcus. Victoria, he said immediately. From prison. Can she really do anything from there? She can try, but we'll be ready. Marcus took the letter carefully. I'll have this analyzed, and I'll increase security around you and the babies. Will it ever end? Maybe, maybe not. But you're stronger now than you were, and you have people watching your back. Emma looked at her children playing on a blanket in the nursery. Margaret was trying to grab her brother's nose. James was laughing a pure joyful sound that made Emma's heart swell. I'd burn the world down for them, she said quietly. I know you would. That's why you're going to be okay. 1 year later, Emma sat in her mother's office, the office that was now hers. Eleanor had been teaching her the business for 12 months. The learning curve was steep, but Emma was determined. She had discovered something unexpected about herself. She was good at this. Good at reading people. Good at making decisions. Good at understanding the complex flows of money and influence that her mother had spent decades mastering. A knock at the door. Her assistant peeked in. Mrs. Hartwell, your 11 o'clock is here. Send them in. The door opened and Patricia Caldwell walked in. Emma hadn't seen her former mother-in-law since the day of the will reading. Patricia had avoided prosecution by cooperating with investigators, but her reputation was destroyed. Her social circle had abandoned her. Her remaining son, Ryan's brother, had cut off all contact. She looked old now, fragile. Nothing like the formidable woman who had terrorized Emma for 4 years. Thank you for seeing me. Patricia said, her voice barely above a whisper. I almost didn't. Why are you here? Patricia sat down slowly. I want to see my grandchildren. Emma's expression didn't change. No. Please, they're all I have left. Ryan is in prison for 20 years. My other son won't speak to me. My husband left me. I have nothing. And whose fault is that? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. I let greed destroy my family. You didn't make mistakes, Patricia. You made choices. You chose to conspire against me. You chose to help plan my destruction. You chose money over basic human decency. I was trying to help my son. Your son is a monster, and you helped create him. Patricia flinched like she'd been slapped. Emma leaned forward. Let me tell you what's going to happen. You're going to walk out of this office. You're going to go back to whatever is left of your life, and you're never going to contact me or my children again. Emma, please. If you try to see them, if you send letters, if you show up at their school or their birthday parties, I will use every resource at my disposal to make your life even more miserable than it already is. Emma's voice was ice. My mother left me $10 billion and an army of lawyers. I can bury you so deep you'll never see daylight again. Patricia's face crumpled. You've become hard. You didn't used to be this way. No, I didn't. I used to be soft and trusting and kind, and people like you took advantage of that. Emma stood. Now I'm someone who protects what's hers, and my children will never know the pain of trusting the wrong people the way I did. She pressed a button on her desk. Security will escort you out. 2 guards appeared at the door. Patricia rose shakily to her feet. I'm sorry, Emma, for everything. I believe you are. But sorry doesn't undo what you did. Sorry doesn't give me back the years I spent feeling worthless. Sorry doesn't bring my mother back. Patricia was led away crying softly. When the door closed, Emma sat down heavily. Her hands were shaking. She had been hard. Maybe too hard. But she couldn't afford to be soft. Not anymore. Not when she had 2 children depending on her to keep them safe. Her phone buzzed. A photo from the nanny. Margaret and James in the park, covered in ice cream, grinning at the camera. Emma smiled despite herself. This was why she fought. This was why she had become someone new. Not for revenge. Not for money. For them. For the future her mother had worked so hard to give her. 5 years later, Emma Hartwell stood at a podium in front of 300 people. The Margaret Hartwell Foundation was celebrating its 5th anniversary and its billionth dollar donated to causes around the world. Women's shelters, children's hospitals, education programs, legal aid for domestic abuse victims. Emma had taken her mother's money and used it to help people like the person she used to be. Vulnerable, trapped, desperate for someone to believe them. In the audience sat Eleanor Chen, white-haired now but still sharp. Marcus Chen, who had married and had children of his own, but still ran security for the foundation. Jonathan Pierce retired, but attending every major event as a guest of honor. Rachel Morrison, now a board member of the foundation. And in the front row, Margaret and James, 6 years old now. Bright and curious, and completely unaware of the fortune that awaited them someday. Emma looked at her children and felt her heart overflow. "My mother believed that money was a responsibility," she said into the microphone. "She believed that those who have much owe much to those who have less. She built an empire in silence, and she used it to help people she never met." Emma paused. "When she died, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know about the money. I didn't know about the trust. I didn't know that the people I trusted most were plotting to take everything from me." The audience was silent. But my mother knew. She saw the danger before I did, and she spent years preparing for it, building walls around me that I didn't even know existed. Emma looked at the photo of her mother displayed on the screen behind her. "I'm not here because I'm special. I'm here because I was loved, truly loved, by a woman who gave everything she had to protect her daughter and her grandchildren." She looked at Margaret and James. "And now it's my turn to protect them. To teach them that real wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the people who stand beside you when everything falls apart. It's measured in the strength you discover when you have no other choice. It's measured in the love you give and the legacy you leave behind." Emma smiled. "My mother's legacy is this foundation. My legacy will be my children, and their legacy will be whatever they choose to build with the opportunities we gave them." She raised her glass. "To Margaret Ann Hartwell, the trillion-dollar ghost who loved in silence and gave in secret. May we all be worthy of her example." 300 glasses rose in response. Later that night, Emma tucked Margaret and James into bed. She read them their favorite story, the same one her mother used to read to her. She kissed their foreheads and turned off the lights. At the door, she paused and looked back at her sleeping children. She thought about everything she had survived: the betrayal, the humiliation, the pain, the rebirth. She thought about Ryan rotting in prison, Victoria counting down the years until parole, Patricia alone and forgotten. She thought about her mother watching from wherever the dead watched from, smiling at the woman Emma had become. And she thought about the future, bright and uncertain and full of possibilities she couldn't even imagine. "Thank you, Mom," she whispered into the darkness, "for everything." Then Emma Hartwell closed the door, walked down the hallway of the life she had built from the ashes of the life that was stolen from her, and never looked back. Because the woman who was once called worthless had become worth everything. And that was a victory no one could ever take away.